Reverend Rhythm's podcast. Fun, Jesus, drums. Starting now. And what is up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Reverend Rhythm's podcast. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3, The Untitled Document, also known as the interview episode. Folks, tonight, joining us all the way from Ohio, and let's not get that confused with the Gen Z speak, please. But all the way joining us from Ohio is Jordan Smith, a.k.a. JMS Drums. If you have seen him on Instagram and YouTube, sharing his wonderful YouTube channel with all of us, and the cool segment he does known as the Sunday Seat, where he features other drummers from around the world. Everybody, put your hands together for Jordan Smith.
Thanks, guys. It's fun to be here.
So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to have you here, man.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. I've been listening to you guys on the regular, and I feel like I know you guys, which is fun about podcasts because, like, quite frankly, I really don't actually know you guys, but I know you well enough because of the podcasting realm, if that makes any sense at all. I hope it makes sense.
Yep, it's cool. You live vicariously through our podcast and you stalk us. Totally fine.
Yeah, normal.
Yeah.
So it's all good. And of course, you guys, we can't forget the wonderful, the fashionable Dylan.
Oh, what's up, guys? How's it going? Oh, man.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay to
No
clap.
claps.
And clap
Okay, all
awkwardly.
right.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate
There
it.
you go. If anything, all he gets is one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it.
So that is awesome. Well, here we are on another wonderful episode. And as you can see, at least for me, my background has drastically changed. I got this wonderful mural painted by my wife. And you see my drums here. Did I do that on purpose? Maybe.
I would assume.
Just
Probably.
maybe. But also, you know, it's better than looking at the horrible ceiling tiles that are falling apart in my basement.
Yep.
So, and also we got a blue light that I can change colors on, but I have to run behind the drum set to do that, but I'm not going to. So awesome. Well, guys, how have your weeks? Well, weeks.
Two?
Yep, I get that awkward look all
Yeah,
the time.
somewhere
I'm
in
trying to process it myself. It's late. So, but no, starting, Dylan, how has your week been? What have you been up to since the last episode?
Yeah, man. Nothing crazy. Just working my 9 to 5. More like a, 8 to 4. Anyway, just a good shift. Anyway, good job. And raising 2 crazy 3-year-olds. Will be 4 in May, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, and then Saturdays are my church days. So last Saturday I played drums. Yes, I think. Pretty positive I did. I helped with sound as well. So yeah, that's been my week or two.
Nice.
Whatever it's been.
Gotcha. Low key is definitely a way to be. And folks, in case you didn't know, Dylan is actually part of another podcast, which actually leads me to a few other announcements. But Dylan, you also started another podcast called Minorly Important, right?
That I did. Me and it was 4 other guys, but one guy is stepping away because of personal reasons. So 4 other guys, or 3 other guys and me, I guess, whatever. We're talking about minor league sports because we were all either employed by a minor league sports organization and or a fan of minor league sports in general. So yeah, not a lot of talk about minor league sports out there. So we thought, why not start something?
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome. By the way, those of us that are here, Mad Ants, may they forever be in Fort Wayne,
If
even
only.
though they're not. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, Jordan, that's a whole. We have a whole episode on that one.
I remember that episode.
So, well, good deal, man. Well, Jordan, how about you? What have you been up to since our last episode, or just what have you been up to in general?
So I have the honor and the privilege to not only serve at a church, but I'm also employed at the church. I am the digital producer, and I do a lot of like the social media stuff and content for like classes and so on. But we had this past weekend, we had the Clear Truth Conference where we brought in a bunch of teachers and preachers from around the world and really got to like invest in the congregation and those are in the surrounding areas and really got to like talk with them about like what does it mean to be the theme was dangerous friends, and to the outside world, Christianity can look really dangerous. So like the whole concept is to be a dangerous friend is to live boldly for Christ and so on. And we had different teachers and preachers talking about what does it mean to be a dangerous parent, parenting with Christian values. We had talking about being a dangerous church where you actually preach the gospel and you don't sugarcoat it. And it was just, it was a really fun, it was 2 days full of speakers, and honestly, the whole time that we were there, I think everybody of every demographic got to learn something new, which is really cool to say. But then, following that following Sunday, our church officially moved to 3 services. So it was jam packed of a lot of high energy, high. It was a high really, and it was a blast because we got to basically see like the church grow and got to bring people in and tell them about Jesus in a dangerous fashion. So it was cool, man. It was a good week.
That's awesome.
Nice. Very cool. And then, of course, coming off of that week there, you end up joining us here on the podcast. So, again, like a lot. And, folks, in case you didn't know, we have been experiencing technical difficulties. But, hey, you know what? What's some entertainment without some few hiccups, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Well, my week... really, well, ever since the last episode, nothing too crazy. I think I played at church. I don't know. At this point, you play so much, you forget when you're actually, like playing. So
Preach.
There's that. So there's that. And then earlier at actually this week that we're currently on, I was sick on Tuesday. Got taken down by, I think, a cold or something like that. And anytime the weather changes, I get sick. So twice a year. And folks... in case you didn't know, and depending on where you're listening to us from, I mean, we live in the Midwest, where one day it will be 70 degrees and sunny, and then the next hour it will be 30 degrees and snowing.
Yep.
So we live in the one place where you can get all 4 seasons in probably less than a day.
Yep.
Amen.
Easily.
But yeah, so anytime that happens, I get sick. So I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna take the day, called off work, and just sat and kind of let my body rest, which was something much needed. Decided to, from an old pastime, I used to watch Star Wars every time I would get sick, and used to watch the original trilogy and everything like that. And I was like, I'm not going to do that this time because I've seen the original trilogy enough times that I could probably recite it for you all. And by the way, if you ever want to hear anything super entertaining, listen to the original trilogy in Shakespearean language. It's hilarious.
Interesting.
It's a thing. Look it up right now. Everybody's Googling like, wait, Star Wars, Shakespeare, what?
Hang on, guys.
And we've lost Jordan. Anyways. But no, and then from there I ended up deciding to watch Andor. And cool show. Hard to binge watch the entire thing in one sitting. It's 12 episodes, each one literally about an hour long. So that was my entire day. And that was definitely unique, very hard to follow. Showed kind of like how the Empire was transitioning from the Republic to the Empire, and then the rebels kind of coming in that they don't want to deal with the Empire because the Empire is basically Nazi Germany. So moving forward on that, it was just hard. So eventually I got like to 9 o'clock at night after watching all of them. I turned on Bad Batch because I need to get caught up on that. But I can handle 30-minute episodes with stuff blowing up in cartoons. So like super easy, can totally roll with that. So, but after that, then I rearranged the studio space a little bit. It's not really a studio space. I'm in a basement. So this is my section. I have 8 feet where it's like, this is my music gear.
Nice.
So
it's a studio.
it tries not to get taken out by the pool table. So, but yeah, other than that, not too much has gone on. It's been a fairly chill couple of weeks since the last episode. So I cannot complain there.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So nice. Well, folks, So again, we're very blessed and privileged today to have Jordan with us here. Now, if some of you guys know, like I said, he is a content creator. Not only does he work for a church, but he also does, Instagram and YouTube. Jordan, like, just kind of off the top of your head, like, how many followers do you have between both platforms?
I know off of YouTube because I literally just checked it before we started the conversation. I think I'm about, at present time of this recording, I'm at about 7,300 on YouTube.
Nice.
Quite frankly, I'm not huge on like numbers on Instagram. I think I'm at like maybe 1,500 maybe. But my main focus, honestly, is YouTube, just because of, I know the algorithm's a little bit better. I know kind of what does better and all that stuff. So I did a little bit more research on YouTube than Instagram. So
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. And then, like, what prompted you to want to do your segment that you call the Sunday Seat? Like, what was the inspiration behind the Sunday Seat?
Yeah, so obviously the Sunday seat comes from the idea of the drummer's seat. I have a saying that I say a lot with my church, and honestly any drummers that I talk to. I have some of the coolest seats in the house because you get to sit back and you get to watch not only the congregation worship, but you also have the sight of the musicians around you. And for me, it's such a humbling experience to sit on a Sunday morning in the drummer's seat and watching all of that come through, especially when you have like such a powerful worship moment and you literally see it move through the room. It's breathtaking. And so for me, I started the segment of the Sunday seat because I really, the channel started out with like me doing drum covers, and I started moving into the realm of like gear reviews and vlogging and stuff like that, it's really fun. I really enjoyed that. But something that I realized is like my platform and what I'm doing is minute for the kingdom. And there's so many other drummers out there that are incredible, and I'd love to showcase them. And so the whole goal of the Sunday Seat was to bring incredible drummers on and just say, hey, I'm moving out of the way so that these guys can shine for a moment, because they deserve the spotlight at this moment. Because let's be real, every church has a drummer or two, or let's be real, all drummers really, that are glorifying God, and they deserve to not only be like recognized, but also like be told thanks. And so that was my way of saying thank you, and also showing off like to the viewers that are on my channel on a regular basis. So that was the idea behind the Sunday Seat, really.
Okay.
Super cool.
Nice. And then, like, and kind of what got you interested in specifically wanting to just like get into content creation?
So actually what's really funny is that is a long story, but in a bullet point format, I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. When I was younger, I was a touring musician. I toured with several different artists, and I learned a lot while I was on the road, ways of creating moments and memorable moments for the audience. And that really stuck with me. Memorable moments really stick with people. And so throughout my adventures on the road, I learned a lot. And when it came time for COVID, a lot of touring stopped. And so for me, how can I help other people that I don't have the opportunity of talking on one-on-one to create these memorable moments? How can I help to allow that to happen? And so I said, well, I have a camera, I have a drum kit, and I think my church has some extra mics. Let's give it a shot. And we started with that. And God was good throughout all of it, because the whole idea was just to get some content out there to help drummers to figure out parts. And honestly, for me, at the time, I was actually training a drummer on how to drum and how to play within like the music or the worship realm. And he's like, I don't know how to do this. So I was like, here, I'll create some content for you to particularly watch, to help you to understand the parts, but then I hit a song and eventually it just kind of blew up in a good way, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. Super cool. And like, how did you get involved in music? Like, do you have any previous music experience? Like, you know, for me growing up with learning how to play drums, you had to have like 2 years of like piano experience because you had to learn that whole limb independence thing. So it's like, do you play piano at all? Like, do you do guitar, any vocal work, or has it always been like you picked up a set of sticks and you just ran with it?
Well, according to my mom, when I was younger, I picked out pots and pans and grabbed some wooden spoons and wailed on them for a long time. So that was always been the main focus. I personally, like, as of recent, have picked up a bass guitar and I'm trying to learn something new, which is very uncomfortable, if I'm being honest, because drumming has always been my world. But drumming has always been my passion, and musically, I played in like concert band for a little bit, marching band, pep band, like a little bit of everything with like high school, but like most of those didn't involve the drum kit. I'm actually, by definition, I am self-taught, minus like 3 jazz lessons I had with my band director. So there's that.
Nice. Very cool. That is absolutely awesome. Fellow marching player Dylan.
Heck yeah.
Woo! That is awesome. Super cool there. So, yeah, let me tell you, as a also bass player, it's actually pretty easy to move from the kit over to the bass because you have the rhythmic understanding to be able to like, you understand, you know, rhythmic patterns and things like that and how to play along with like accents and all that. Now you're just assigning a note and a string to it. So like once you figure out where everything is on the fingerboard, you'll just be like, oh yeah, and you'll be going. So
Just like that, right?
Yeah,
just like
just like
So if it's one thing I've learned from working at Sweetwater is when you talk to the bass players, don't mention slap of the bass because they will slap a you. So that is awesome. So big meat and potatoes kind of a moment right now. I mean, so you're working in a church. You're right there with us. You're a worship drummer. Tell us a little bit about your walk with Christ. Like, how did that start? Like, did it happen for middle school? Like, were you always involved in a church at an early age? Like, what's Jordan's backstory?
Oh man, okay, so let's strap in for the wonderful world of Jordan. Thank you guys, I appreciate that.
Of course.
So
I'm gonna try to make this.
I'm gonna try to make this as bullet pointish as possible because obviously, like when you hear the story of God and you hear like people's testimonies, like obviously you see the little breadcrumbs at the end of the story, and you're like, oh, I see how God did that, and that's totally what happened with me. You see, for me, my story obviously starts with loving to pull pots and pans out, wooden spoons, smacking on them. I loved music when I was younger. I loved the rhythmic side of things. It wasn't until I got a little bit older that my dad actually stepped away from the family. He left me, my brother, my sister, and my mom. Didn't really fight for us, and really, at the time, I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me. And I struggled with that because, you know, as a kid, you want your dad to fight for you, and that didn't happen. Well, a couple years later, I realized that there was some abandonment issues, and there was some real struggles with anger that, looking back now, it traces back to that moment when my father stepped away. And I remember, you know, there was times where I would see red, and my brother was playing, you know, with a toy that I wanted to play with, and I'd go and I'd pummel him, you know, and, you know, looking back, forgive me, God. But, you know, I realized, like, man, this is a big issue. Like, there's a lot that I need to work through. Ironically, that's when my mom had spoken with the band director about taking lessons and private lessons, because apparently I had started a year too late. And so I picked up a pair of drumsticks and I started playing. And for me, playing was therapeutic. Like it was I was letting out frustrations and anger and rage to flams and paradiddles and you name it, drum wise. And so I went to a conference and there was this speaker that was talking about like, hey, if you have a passion for music and you feel like you're going to be the next Relient K or the next new song, like I want you to stand up now. And I remember like I was just learning how to do this, but like God in my spirit like told me to stand up. And I remember standing up and I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. And after that moment, I dug in and I learned as much as I could about percussion, as much as I could about drum kits. I watched all the videos. I watched all the tutorials. Like I did as much as I could to learn what it meant to be a drummer, but not just a drummer, a Christian drummer in the Christian realm. Now, fast forward to, honestly, the COVID and all that stuff. I was touring with a couple of different artists, and I'm not going to name drop here because that's not the reason I'm bringing this story up. But I was playing with some good artists out there, and God has said to me, "Hey, I love that you are letting out your frustrations and you're turning your anger into praise at this moment, but I need you to step away. I need you to push all this to the side." And I was like, what are you talking about, God? I don't understand why in the world you have brought me down this path to this exact moment where this band was getting ready to do some pretty incredible things. And I don't want to, again, I'm not name dropping right now, but we're getting ready to do something really cool. And God said, I need you to step away. I just need you to trust me right now. And so me and my wife stepped away from that group. 3 weeks into a really big tour, COVID hit. And so God was protecting us for that. But around that same time, my wife and I were starting to start our family. So there was this weird transition of going away from music, in a sense, and stepping into like a family role. Looking back, I said, God, why did you do that? And he said, I don't want your kids to have the same anger that you had for your dad, because I stepped in when your dad left, and I protected you, and I brought you to where you're at now. Now it's time for you to show them the dad that they need to be, or that you need to be for them. So, sorry, I'm getting a little shook up.
It's all good. No worries, man. That it comes with the territories. Like, share as you feel led.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So, God has been really cool, and throughout that faith journey, or whatever you want to call it, testimony, God was faithful, and now I get to create content whenever I feel like it, and I still get to wake up on a Sunday morning or on a Saturday and play with my kids. And it all started at a young age. God was there, although I may not have recognized it, but the breadcrumbs were there of going to church with my mom every Sunday, going to youth group every Sunday night, going to the conferences to get like your spiritual fed moments, and then you're amped up and you're ready to go to your school and tell people, and then it kind of mellows out. God was there the entire time, and although it's not what I planned or what I thought God had in store for us, like I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's so awesome, dude. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking the question.
Well, I mean, I think I've said it before in terms of like, this is a podcast about drums and Jesus.
Yep.
So
Amen.
not necessarily in that order, but
Yeah,
like,
right.
And whatnot. So priorities. But no, that is so cool. So good deal. So, well, we at least when Sean was here, hey Sean, you're missing out.
Come on, Sean.
Anyways, so sorry, we take horrible plugs at Sean. We do miss you. We miss you, buddy. Come back,
please.
So you're missing out on all the cool stuff. So actually, it's funny. I texted him the other day and I was like, hey, we just did our first video episode. He's like, no way. Like super excited. I'm like, we need you back. He's like, I want to come back. I'm just busy. So So, Sean, if you're listening, which we know you are, we love you. And even though we take shots at you, it's out of love. So, but no. So, some of the big things, at least Sean was really good at this. So, Jordan, we're going to ask you this. What's in your stick bag right now?
What's in my stick bag?
Yeah, what's your stick of choice? Like, do you have mallets? Do you have like shaker? Like, what are things? Oh, and actually, I could probably throw a devices with Dibbz moment in here if I really wanted to. Actually, my stick bag's right here. Jordan, continue as you were saying as I disappear off screen real quick.
That's not suspicious. So I'm a big fan of the Vader Fusion sticks. They're kind of like an in between a 5A and a 5B ish, but they're also thin. But I also do the typical worship drummer thing where one's backwards and the other one is a regular way up. So, and then honestly, I have a pair of mallets and that's it. I mean, I'm pretty chill. I do have like a big container that's like, I don't know what size that would be, but it's big of like a ton of different drum keys. So I got like a stick bag and a half essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. And
I don't know if that answers the question or not. So, but.
Well, I mean, here, let's see if I can pull this off on camera without dumping it out. At least you're not like me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where I bring everything with me. Well,
Everything.
like I have an answer for everything. Hey, we're doing this song. Sweet. I have an answer for it in my bag.
Oh my gosh.
So this is my handy bag of tricks. Provided to you by Michael Berg in Humsenberg. He did not pay me to
Shameless
say that.
plug.
Shameless plug. Dude, Humsenberg products are the best. I'm not
really
going to lie.
They are.
Oh, they really are. Well, okay. So now we're going to sidetrack. Now we're on to drum stuff.
Nice.
So Humsenberg products. You've seen his Enduro Pro cases. So they're the like big beefy plastic ones with the nice foam lining on the inside. So I met Michael Berg at Sweetwater one day, and he was telling me a story about his cases that he had a guy who bought one of his snare cases. So 6.5 by 14. He put his snare drum in the case, and then this dude put the case in the back of his pickup truck. So he's cruising down the highway, doing his thing. He hits a bump. Oh, it gets better. He hits a bump. The snare case goes airborne out of the bed, hits the roadway. So now you have a moving snare case, sliding, rolling, doing all the things, and then gets picked off by an 18-wheeler semi. The dude pulls over on the side of the road. Oh, I see everybody cringing. This is great. So the dude pulls over, and he goes over to where the case was. The case is all beaten up, battered, bruised. Looks like it's been through the worst battle on the face of the planet. And the snare drum is 100% fine.
Naturally.
So if that tells you anything to the design and how rugged these cases are, like it can take an 18-wheeler semi and not crack the drum. I'm like, okay. I want one. So I have
I'm
one.
curious of what drum was inside of it. Was it a concrete drum?
Right.
It had to have been something.
What? Oh man.
So, gosh, gotta love it. So, that being said, moving on to drums. Jordan, what is your favorite brand of drums to be able to play on?
Ooh, so I've always been a Ludwig guy, honestly. I'm a big fan of like honestly, just Ludwig in general, but I'm more like the vintage stuff. I have a vintage Vista Light. I have a vintage, I don't even know what it is. I think it's from like the 1980s kit. I forget what the terminology or the brand is or the line, but I have two of those kits, and then I'm always wheeling and dealing if I can, like on Marketplace. So if I see a good deal on something, I'm like, hey, I'll trade you this for this. And I recently got a 1960, I think it's like a Superphonic, which was like, ooh, okay, all right. So I'm pretty stoked. I haven't done any refurbishing on that yet, but that's my next project, which I haven't played it yet. But I can only imagine what it's going to sound like once it's done. If that helps.
Ooh, that sounds so good. Superphonic, I got my hands on a mid-80s Superphonic, so blue and olive, rounded badge, everything like that. It's my go-to drum. Like, I refuse to play on anything else at this point. Actually, I refuse to play on any other snare drums if it's not a Ludwig, really. So, I mean, I make do at church just because it's there. It's not my equipment. But there's just something about a Ludwig that just sounds so good.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So good.
I'm also a little biased too. So, but
Totally fine. Nothing wrong there. So now, here's the make or break. Are you Team Evans or Team Remo? Remember, I can disconnect you at any point in time.
I know, but we've already had that issue. So me too. I am Team Evans, if I'm being honest.
That's fine. You're in company with Dylan.
All right, cool.
No, you guys are wrong.
Hey, now.
So that's cool. That's cool. And then what cymbals do you like to play? Now, personal preference, like what do you like versus like what do you have at the church?
So, ironically, at the church we have Meinl cymbals, and we're trying out the Heartbeat 10 series as a ride cymbal. Honestly, though, I've always been a Heartbeat cymbal guy personally. I don't know. There's just something about the Heartbeat cymbals. They just cut a little bit different than the cymbals I've tried in the past. So I'm a full Heartbeat player, although there was a Dream cymbals for a very short stint was all right. I'm okay with this, but Heartbeat is my go-to.
So Heartbeat does make some really good stuff. I love playing on the Heartbeats.
I've never had the privilege, unfortunately, to play a Heartbeat cymbal, so I'm gonna have to change that one of these days. But
all the more reason for you to just come play at my church.
yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
So that's cool. So awesome. Well, guys, there you have it. He likes Vader. He likes Ludwig. He's Team Evans, even though he's wrong.
I know.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Team Remo. I was Evans, but I switched back to the old school. So,
All right. I can respect it, though. You know,
Well,
Remo's
I
got
mean-
some really good stuff out there.
dude, Remo does have some really good stuff out there, and it's crazy what they're able to do. And what I explain to a lot of people is it's like Evans, like they're good heads. They're more of a modern sound to them.
That's true. I can give you
Whereas
that.
Yeah.
Remos are kind of more that vintage sound. And if you listen to a lot of, church style drumming these days, it's got more of that vintage tone to it. It's got that big, breathy, open airiness. And like Remos are really good for that. And so,
Yeah, I can't argue. I mean, you're right.
so, but awesome. Yeah. So on a side note, it is now time for Dylan. Get ready.
Which way? Okay.
Am I supposed to participate in that?
I mean, okay, here, everybody wiggle your hands. 1, 2, 3. Devices with Dibbz. So, anyways, I don't know about you guys, but I've made it a point to try and make it that I have a shaker in my stick bag. And this was on the advice of my coach from work and good friend, who he would always give me crap. He's like, hands down, he's like, how do you not have a shaker? He's like, you're a drummer. You did studio work. Like, why don't you have a shaker? I could never land on something that I like. And then one day, Schlagwork came to Sweetwater and did kind of like an office hours. Short, quick and dirty office hours. Vendor shows up, shows us all their product. That's it. So anyway, so Schlagwork showed up and they brought this little guy. This is the Schlagwork short long shaker. What's really cool, it's a dual chambered shaker. And so you hold it one way. Hopefully my mic can capture this. So this is the short way.
Okay.
But you rotate it to the long way. I really hope that came through on the mic. That'd be
Oh, I sure did.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I can get two different shaker sounds.
Shaker sounds.
Because I'm saying shaker, but
I know what you meant.
she shouted by the seashore. Anyways. So, but no, you get two different shaker sounds out of this one little box. And like, so it's super cool. And I just recently used it like multiple times. We did like an unplugged set for church.
Nice.
So I was, playing this for the unplugged set. And what's cool is like, you start out at the, that intro of the song, you just need something subtle. So you have the short version. And then just as you need to open it up a little more. And it got louder naturally on its own. And it was super cool and like really created a good like effect and mood. And it sounded good both on the live stage as well as in our, little drum cage that we have upstairs and everything. So folks, if you want a good shaker, go hit up Schlagwork and get yourself the short long. It's fairly inexpensive too. I think it was $25.
That's super reasonable.
Not bad.
Yeah, super reasonable. And what's really cool is one thing we learned about Schlagwork. So like every piece of this shaker here was made from scrap from all their other stuff. So Schlagworks likes making sure that they don't end up having like any extra waste or anything like that. So like they'll make one of their cajones and they'll have leftover pieces. They're like, cool, let's make a couple of shakers out of these. And they'll like literally trim it down so they have like, okay, we have this little block of wood that we can't do anything with. And then they'll throw that away or they'll turn it into like kindling or something like that.
That's cool.
So like this was made from, like you can see, one different type of wood, that type of wood, natural. So it's just made from various different pieces. So not every shaker looks the same. Each one has kind of its own unique like look and flair, which is really cool.
That's super cool.
Are they all about the same size?
Yeah, they're all, so the short longs are all going to end up being based on the same size and everything. So like they'll be the same size, but they're going to look all different.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Unique for each individual drummer.
Yeah, exactly. So Schlagwork, short long. All right. And this has been another Devices with Dibbz. Jordan, thank you for participating in that.
Of course.
That was great. So awesome. Well, guys, so we're kind of getting ready to finish out our time here. So with that being said, I'd like to continue on what we were talking about last week about how our stage is not our platform and how we can be leaders, worship leaders from the back line, helping lead people to Jesus. So the big one is the congregation. They don't see what we end up sacrificing on the back end when we're, helping lead worship, things like that. As a musician, we have late nights where we're kind of, charting parts, trying to get stuff figured out, trying to get in there and kind of work parts out in our head before we sit down on the kit, things like that. The amount of practice time, it's like if you're listening to this and you're not coming from a musician's perspective, you're just listening to it because you like the biblical aspect that we try and bring to this. Is the musicians, we put in a lot of practice time. And the thing is, it's like we practice at home because when we get to church, that's rehearsal. That's not practice.
Amen.
That is rehearsal. So you got to make sure that when you're at church, even if it's rehearsal, you're still giving it 100% your all there. And the other thing is, like, you're missing out on family moments when you're practicing that and you're not, you're not getting the opportunity to see what your kid's doing upstairs because, you're trying to work out that stuff for church and for worship. And like the other thing is what a lot of people don't see is when you're together with the team, especially on Sunday, like we make it a point that we pray before every single service before we end up going out on stage. So, and it's like, some people don't see that. They just see us walk out on stage. It's like, oh, they're here to play music. It's more than we're here to play music. We are here to help lead and bring people to God, bring people to Christ. It's one of those, I'm an avid fan of, I have a hard time following verbal word, if that makes sense. It's like when someone's talking to me, like I have to really stop, focus in, like kind of look at their lips all awkwardly, kind of like that to try and read what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas there's something about melodic word and like a song that can just resonate you and hit you. And it just, kind of kicks in. You're like, oh, that those moments make a difference for people. So
Yeah.
What's your guys' thought? What do you feel about this one?
Go ahead if you have anything. Go ahead.
Ironically, so I was preparing for just in general, like thinking through like what does it look like to lead worship, and I was thinking through, our roles as drummers. We have a lot of different things that we have to think about, whether it's learning the parts, whether it's running the tracks, whether it is troubleshooting on the fly. It's communicating with the music director on like, hey, this isn't working. Hey, we just got to do this without a click. Like, there's all those different aspects behind the scenes that you don't think about. But I was thinking through, I was thinking through 1 Samuel. So obviously, this is when David is called into Saul's service. So I'm going to just read this really quick.
Yeah, go for it.
With you guys.
Yeah.
Now the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and a harmful spirit from the Lord tormented him. And Saul's servant said to him, "Behold now, a harmful spirit from God is tormenting you. Let our Lord now command your servants, who are before you, to seek out a man who is skillful in playing the lyre. And when the harmful spirit from God is upon you, he will play it, and you will be well." So, in a nutshell, servant said, "Hey, I know a guy that can play the lyre really, really well. And more than likely, because the lyre is musical, the spirit will flee." So Saul said to his servants, "Provide for me a man who can play well, and bring him to me." One of the youngest men answered, "Behold, I have seen a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, who is skillful in playing." Goes back to the whole idea of playing behind the scenes, learning the parts. He played skillfully, and it was recognized because he put his time in the fields, learning how to do it. The Bethlehemite who is playing skillfully, a man of valor, a man of war, prudent in speech, and a man of good presence, and the Lord is with him. Kind of reminds me of like, he can play really well, but because he has spent time with God, God knows who he is, so he's with him. Therefore, Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, "Send me David, your son, who is with the sheep." And Jesse took a donkey laden with bread and a skin of wine and a young goat and sent them by David to son. Man, I am butchering this. Okay.
It's okay. God forgives you. He forgives all of us.
I'm trying, man.
He understands we're illiterate. It's fine.
And And Jesse took a donkey laden with bread and a skin of wine and a young goat and sent them by David, his son, to Saul. There it is. Mm-hmm. And David came to Saul and entered his service. And Saul loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, "Let David remain in my service, for he has found favor in my sight." Now, this is the part that really stood out to me, which I'm about to read. And it said, "And whenever the harmful spirit from God was upon Saul, David took the lyre and played it, and played it with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the harmful spirit departed from him." So think of it this way. David did the hard work behind the scenes. Didn't get the recognition. Didn't do it for the crowd or anything like that. But David did the hard work. And in that moment, when his opportunity to step into something greater, he was already ready for it. And when he would play, demons would run. And I think that's just so cool to think about. Like,
that's awesome.
Man, he was so skillful that the demons went, "Later." You know what I mean? Like, it's just so cool to think about. Like, are we doing that as drummers? Are we doing that as Christians? Are we taking the due diligence not only with our sticks but also with the Bible? Are we learning? Are we pressing in? Are we doing the things behind the scenes so that when we step on the platform, we can pour out as much as we can, so that people can have those freeing moments? I don't know. That's where my brain went.
So That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yep.
So
Dylan,
cool.
the same thing. It's if it's one thing I miss, I know we we fun lovingly take shots at Sean, but Sean really brought a lot of that
Yeah.
pastoral aspect to
Yeah.
the show that we kind of lack. Jordan, thank you so
Yeah.
much. That
Super
brought
awesome.
ooh that makes me excited. Now I'm not going to be able to go to sleep.
Right.
It's a good thing I'm not working tomorrow, so I can stay up a little bit
Lucky.
later and be fine.
Great.
So now I have a homeschool conference tomorrow. Anyways, I don't want to sidetrack. So, Dylan, do you want to weigh in or?
How do I follow that? No,
You just go, Jesus is good.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
No, like for sure. Like you don't see it. Like we get there. For me, anyway, I always get there at my church where it starts at 5, but we get there at 3 to run through the service and like all that kind of stuff. I assume you guys do the similar thing. I don't know if you guys have like other days that you guys go practice or if it's just before service, but we don't really meet other times. But that couple hours beforehand, we always start with a prayer and we, get the set list like it is. And just like Jordan was saying, like if something doesn't work, the worship leader and like we'd all communicate and say, hey, yeah, maybe we don't play this song today, or maybe we pick another song that we know we can do better. And it's just a lot of things behind the scenes, as you guys were saying, that it's unseen for sure. But yeah, I totally agree with everything he said.
Indeed. And at the end of it all, which is kind of the point I'm seeing, it's like the congregation, everybody else, they don't see it.
Right.
But God ends up seeing everything that you're doing
Amen.
and whatnot, and totally appreciates. And I was going somewhere with this and I completely lost my train of thought. So, but no,
think it also- Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think what you may have been going is it's being a good steward of the gifts that you've been given.
That.
Because if you are, I mean, it goes back to like the 5 talents. The gentleman that used it well, God said, "Good and faithful servant. With the little I've given you, you've done much." And then obviously you have the one that's like, "Yeah, I just buried it in the sand because I didn't want you to get mad at me." He's like, "You wicked and lazy servant. I'm going to take this away and give this to somebody else." Like, I think that's the mentality that you may have been, or the road you may have been traveling down. I kind of was getting on, or I think I was following you on that route of being a good steward of the gifts.
Yep. That's where I wanted to go with that. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Greatly appreciated. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much rounding us out here on this episode, guys. As always, we want to hear from you. Please. And again, like I said, we always got a couple of mediums that you can always reach out to us. We got our Gmail account, reverend.rhythms.podcast@gmail.com. And then, of course, we also have our Instagram that you can end up following along at. Then that is the @reverend.rhythms.podcast. So, yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. And again, if there's something that you need a prayer request, shoot it our direction. If you need, some advice on drumming or some gear, shoot it our direction there and everything like that. If you just want to say, hey, we love what you guys are doing, shoot it our direction. We would love to hear from you guys. So, and then, so I believe that kind of brings us to an end here. So again, everybody, a huge shout out. And again, another round of applause for Jordan Smith joining us on this episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your night.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So absolutely. And if you guys want to check out some of Jordan's stuff, it is JMS Drums on YouTube and Instagram. He's always posting cool stuff there. I know a couple of his videos help me get through some of those songs where it's like, how do I play this? What's going on? I'm not sure. I'm a horrible drummer. Anyways.
Stop it, man. You're amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so make sure you go and check out his comment, drop him some likes, give him some subs. And with that being said, we will join you all next week. I have been Dibbz. Somewhere on the screen here has been Jordan, and of course, the wonderful, the fashionable Dylan. And
yes, thank you.
Fashionable.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, here, do the awkward spin in the chair again, just for fun.
Perfect.
That brings so much joy to me. You have no idea. So, but guys, we have been Reverend Rhythm's podcast. Thank you again. You all have a good night, and we will see you on the next episode called Untitled Episode.
See y'all.
Later.